Okay, so why don't you introduce yourself to our guests? What's your name? What you go by?
My name is Brandon Savage. Most people know me by BS Nightlife via social media. Also have a clothing brand, BS Brand Tees. Blew up with the Educated N-Word tee. A lot of people locally know or may have heard of it. Also had another shirt I came out with, Who That Versus Everybody was another big seller. But yeah, man, the BS Nightlife thing, I come from a world, I'm a club promoter, event promoter, so I already had a following with that sort of transition with other little business ventures has been pretty cool. So yeah, so that's what most people know me by between the two. Right, I got a bunch going on.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So you're doing big things in the city. Are you from New Orleans?
I'm from the West Bank, I'm from Aurora.
Okay, you grew up in a borough?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So did you evacuate for Katrina and come back, or did you stay?
I actually was in between. I was in California. I came back home around that time, so I was staying in Houston with friends. Came home right because my birthday, Katrina happened right after my birthday. My birthday, August 14th. So I was kind of home, just like visiting family when all that happened. So it was easier for me to just kind of go back to Houston when everything happened. So I was home for it, but I evacuated with the family.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So you kind of just decided to come back to the city after everything died down, and
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I didn't really I was doing some different stuff before. I was playing football, playing college ball, whatever, and I saw that kind of seemed like it just wasn't panning out or whatever. So naturally, it was time to figure out a way, okay, how I'm gonna get money? Like, what's gonna be the thing? You know what I'm saying? And, I always did travel and party a lot. So I just kind of had these ideas where it's like, okay, I think I kind of got an idea of what people would like. You know what I'm saying? I was always like kind of popular, so I didn't think it would be that hard to get people to come party. You know what I'm saying? And it really took off, and it became a thing. You know, so I've been doing parties for like 10 years.
okay,
Yep.
awesome. I saw that you were an author of something relative to children. Is that a book?
Yeah, children's book, Educated Kids. So what happened was, that was something I kind of wanted to leave to my daughter. If you could take away everything else, you couldn't take that away. So Educated Kids was stemming from, I didn't feel comfortable with selling the Educated N-Word shirt and kid sizes. So the Educated Kids thing was a branch off of Educated N-Word. So I just wanted to separate the two because I didn't want kids to have to be forced to answer questions behind something that they would be kind of, naive to, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, so after the Educated Kids thing took off with the shirts, my daughter was dealing with not the full-fledged bullying side of it, but she's taller for her age, she's bigger for her age. So naturally, she was getting treated like some of the bigger kids in some cases, and mentally she wasn't ready for that.
Okay.
So that's how I kind of decided to do a book, something that would be cool for kids that they could relate to, and just focus on the importance of education and not let the bullying, get them sidetracked from, what I felt the ultimate goal was to get that education. So
Awesome. So initially, it stemmed from that Papa Bear thing. You want to protect your baby.
Yeah, it was just a situation where I kind of understood I couldn't protect her, I couldn't be there every day. So what a lot of kids do is when they start getting into dealing with bullying, they naturally would just say, you know what, it's easier to be like the bad kids, right? I'll be part of the rough crowd because I'm safe there, right? Nobody's gonna pick on me or whatever. And I just wanted to do something that they would feel like they would embrace, like kids who wanted to get education or wanted to just kind of stay grounded, they would have something to fall on. And then make some of the other kids that may take the bullying route and cross over and say, well, you know what, I don't have to be this way. I can still be cool and still get the education.
So as far as the promoting, are you doing anything with that right now?
Nah, I mean, with the pandemic going on and all that stuff, like, to me right now, it's just, I don't have as much time for it. I'm not done with it per se, but it's just not that big of a deal for me, just knowing that you have so many limitations, you got all these guidelines, and I'm just not comfortable every day with going to promoting people to come to a party, and I gotta take your temperature, I gotta get you to write your name down, and you gotta sit a certain amount of feet away from each other. So to me, it's just kind of pointless, you know. Yeah.
So it's kind of like on the back burner right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're gonna pause for a second. I'm gonna grab your salad.
Okay.
You're going on your salad, and we'll talk more about COVID and how it's affecting your business when we come back.
Okay.
Prepared you a fresh salad. It's on a bed of spinach and romaine lettuce, topped with tomatoes, carrots, shallots, and we have lemon on the side.
Okay, so this is how you coming. That's what we got going on.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go ahead and plate your salmon and your shrimp.
Okay.
Today we're preparing, we have lemon, butter, garlic, asparagus. We're gonna top it with salmon and sriracha shrimp. And we're preparing this for BSavage tonight. We already have served him his fresh bed of greens, spinach, romaine lettuce, topped with tomatoes, carrots, shallots, and lemon. All right, how was that salad?
It was good.
Awesome.
It was really good.
What's your option?
What dressing was that again?
I did a vinaigrette.
The red was
Yes,
really good.
yes, and I infused it with garlic and some spices. Okay, so I think we left off with COVID. What I was interested in knowing is, has it affected your business as far as your sales and your revenue and things like that?
I'm gonna tell you, man, it's crazy because the effect I've had from it has been more about the phases, right? Like the local market. So just recently we went into phase 3, then we were kicked back to phase 2, due to some of the issues with the spiking of the virus numbers, the COVID numbers. So I noticed it this past month and a half, so I definitely took a loss in numbers. So it wasn't a loss where I had to panic. It just wasn't as good as it was. Like, so what happened was, from the local market, once you told people, okay, they can't go out, right? They can't go to bars, they can't go to, nightclubs or different stuff like that. Naturally, people don't have a reason to come by me and say, hey, look, let me get me a shirt, hat, or let me get me a little something to wear because I'm going to get a hookah tonight or stuff like that. So I definitely noticed it from that. Prior to that, I actually did really well because I think because people were still moving around day to day, I just naturally had people that would come in and say, hey man, let me stop over there and get me a little shirt while I'm just making, doing my little routine stuff. I'm going to hang with my friends because people was doing more family gatherings.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. So I'm noticing that, this last month and a half, when they kind of shut things back down again, that was the only time where I just had it to where it was like, it was noticeable. And since they opened things back up, I kind of expect, between that and the Saints season, I expect for things to kind of, be pretty good. But that's what I noticed. It was because I have a big fan base following out of town, so my online sales are pretty good all the time. So it kind of pulled me out of, those spots with the local market. Yeah.
Right. So, as a marketing strategist, I like to call myself a pretty good one.
Okay.
Are you capitalizing off of COVID, or are you putting COVID on shirts or anything COVID related on shirts?
Nah.
Anything about social distancing on shirts or anything like that?
No. What I've always been big into, I don't really care for the things that kind of burn out quick. And the reason trending.
Gotcha.
And the reason why is only for this reason though. Not because I'm against it. For me, I tend to do things in bulk, right? So for example, it's a little harder for me to say, man, I'm gonna go get 5,000 shirts, that's relative to COVID.
Exactly.
And because once it's gone, it's gone. Once that trend is gone, so now how do you even resell, a shirt that, okay, COVID's not a thing anymore, right? So that's why I kind of stay away from that, and I just took the energy to just kind of push the things I already had going on, stuff that was more relative to like social, injustice and stuff like that. And even some of those things, if it's too trendy, I won't mess with it that way. Like, so I kind of market toward things that either is seasonal and is every year, or it's something that I can sell no matter what's going on, because even if it's slow for a period of time, I know something to happen, to bring it back up. So that's the only reason why I haven't done it. Because financially, I'm trying not to put my resources into something. It's like, if you got $20,000, you're like, I can't really afford for $5,000 to sit in that corner and no telling when it's gonna come out of that corner. You know what I'm saying? So I try to avoid, those things.
Okay. And speaking of what's trending, what's your take on Black Lives Matter?
I've been really big into that for a while. The educated N-word shirt wasn't necessarily brought to the forefront from the killings and stuff like that, but just naturally what black folks go through when it comes to racism. That's kind of been the thing with the educated N-word shirt, because, for example, a lot of people see it as, well, why would you want to call yourself a nigga? It's like, well, I'm not calling myself a nigga. But see those group of white folks who so happen to be my boss, they calling me a nigga. They may not say it to my face, but the way you handle me on a job, the way you don't give me the same opportunities, what you do behind closed doors. So that was my way of saying, you know what? If all you see is a nigga when you see me, just know you're dealing with an educated one this time. So my approach is going to be totally different. The way I address things, the way I handle things, it's just not going to be from the norm. And it was just my clever way of saying, I see you, I see what you're doing, but I'm not going to say it, because I know at the same time I still have a job, and I don't want to lose that job, because this is my means of income. And that's where I came from with that shirt, and just really blew up, for people who really understood where I was coming from. Because I still have people to this day, they're like, I never call myself a nigga. That's fine. Your boss call you that every day. You know what I'm saying? That white man that got a problem with you walking, on his lawn, feel that way. Like, that's not all white folks.
So it was a matter of kind of accepting what reality is in society and this climate.
And that's kind of sort of what it was. So for me, it's kind of scary, because when I see a situation with like a George Floyd, right, or Breonna Taylor, we may not see it under the same circumstances, but we know it happens so much, right? All of us got situations, but to this day, most of us got a situation where we can recall, man, you know what? That kid got killed by police, and we never really found out what happened with that. Or, at least because they always got the ultimate excuses. Black folk are incriminating, right? Black folk, like, you could be 5'3" as a black man, and to white folks, you look like a monster. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way they see you. So you gotta always, it's almost like you gotta train our people to talk a certain way when they get around certain people, because you want to feel accepted. Whatever the case may be. So for me, I understood that. I mean, I'm a big guy. I've always been a big guy. So for me, it's the people who know me may say, man, he ain't never the teddy bear. But I know at the same time, I gotta go around certain people and carry myself a certain way, just to not make them be so judgmental. You know what I'm saying, on the front side. So. Yeah, so it's tough, man. I hope we all live long enough to see change. I mean, it's scary. But, I think we're moving in the right direction, I would say.
Awesome. So speaking of being a big guy, that's something you mentioned earlier. Have you ever been victimized by bullies?
I haven't experienced being victimized by bullying, because I always had a big personality, so I was a person who I joked just as much as, somebody like receiving it. So
that's like my daughter, boy. She's a chunky girl, and she's always joking about her weight and joking about everything.
Right.
She's just
so
like
it's harder to
life of the party.
Right. It's harder to get over on that person. For me, I'm the person who, like, if you say a fat joke,
like you right with it.
Right, you can't really hurt my feelings. It don't really bother me.
Yeah.
What I do understand, I've always been a real confident person too. So my mindset is always, I could change, I could make some adjustments and get the weight off.
Yeah.
Your personality, that you stuck with that. You know what I'm saying? So.
And that's an awesome mindset. And I do feel like you have a big personality, and you are confident. I see that in these few minutes that you've been in my presence. So that's a plus. I would say that I could vouch for that statement. So tell me about this entree you're enjoying. Do you like it?
I'm gonna tell you.
Is it A1?
This
on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you
no lie, I'm being honest.
Oh Lord.
if this was a dish that was on like a restaurant menu, right, where it was like just ready to available all the time, this is something I could honestly tell I would eat 4 or 5 times a week. Honestly, like this is really good. Yeah, this is really good.
All right, I'll have to consider that, putting it on the menu. Since Katrina, I've owned 3 restaurants in Houston. But going through a divorce and some life changes, I'm not a restaurant owner at the time. I've only been personal chef services and catering, but I am going to open a restaurant. And I think I might put that on the menu. I might call that the BSavage. Look, the BSavage entree.
And one of the things you notice, honestly, is when it comes to these type of dishes.
And I created that exclusively for you. Let me say that. I've never prepared those selections together.
Let me tell you.
I just wanted to be really creative for you. I wanted to do spice because we're New Orleanians, and I wanted to do seafood. And I didn't want to do ordinary seafood. I didn't want to do crawfish or something you get every day.
Yeah,
so that was prepared just for you.
It's good. Like, I mean, honestly, this is something, because normally when people prepare this particular dish, it don't take much for the salmon or shrimp to be considered prepared, right, or finished.
Exactly.
So you tend to get that same kind of bland. Every now and then somebody may throw a little, citrus type flavor or a little buttery type sauce, and that's it.
Yeah.
The sriracha like really kicks it out to the point where it's like, it's just a burst of flavor. So it's really good for a dish that would be considered a healthy dish. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
It's really good.
Okay. So I did want to touch on your take on the mayor here, because I see a lot of jokes about her online. You know, I actually live in Houston, so I'm not in the city.
Right.
What do you think? What's your take on her leadership and what she's doing here for the city?
Tough job, really tough job. I see both sides of it, right? I see the side of it where for her, you naturally trying to protect, families, you're trying to, you're responsible for a lot of people. So that decision making, whenever you have a situation like that, you're always going to have some people you're going to rub the wrong with. The flip side of it is, sometimes when you decided to take that job, that's what came with it. And sometimes you got to make the hard decision, because for me, the flip side is, on one end, you don't want to let people out because you want to save lives. There's people who, from a business standpoint, this is their life. That's all they got. So if they lose that, you want to lose people on this side of it anyway. So it's hard to tell a person that all I got is my business. Financially, I done tied everything up into it. It's hard to tell that person we're shutting down again for another week, for another month, and knowing I don't have any other way to make money or get the resources. So it's difficult. I mean, I've been blessed to kind of weather the storm, but I have some friends that I'm watching every day, literally to a point where they're almost running out of the resources of people to borrow from. Or, man, just let me borrow this until, because they're supposed to open next week, and that's a hard pill to swallow, man. And I think that's probably the only dilemma. I don't really get big into the politics side, because I feel like I don't like speaking on the things that I don't know enough about.
Exactly.
But just saying it for her, I know it's tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna be honest, they haven't had many politicians that just knock it out the park. I mean, if you want to be real, you can't really go back to none of them and like, you know what, when he was in office or she was in office, I remember things were different. Honestly, you don't see that often. So, but that's one thing I do see. But I think she's genuine. I think she's really trying to make the best decision. But for her, I don't think she's being as rational for those businesses that are being affected, by the shutdown. And a lot of it has to do with a lot of things. Because think about this: if you're a black-owned bar owner, right, a restaurant owner, our people support based on popularity and physical people. You can go to the average white bar, and that bar has been surviving for 40 years off of 15 people going through a day. You go to a black establishment, if you got 15 people there, the other 50 gonna turn around because it's not packed enough or there's not enough people. It's not cool. So when you have some of these rules that are structured, it's kind of aiming toward the places that need people to survive. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that's the part that makes it so tough and demanding, because it's a culture thing for black folk. Like, you can't change that. You can't just, right now, even with the rules that are implemented, I've been at a few bars where people are walking, even though the rule says you can't have more than 50. People will look through the door and say, oh no, it's empty. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at BS Nightlife. That's BSNIGHTLIFE, all one word. BS Brand Tees is my page for my clothing brand. That's BS BRANDTEES, and BS Brand Digital is BS BARND_digital TV. So yeah, but if you get to just the BS Nightlife page, you'll definitely be able to find everything else that I offer. I appreciate y'all. Come do a little window shopping. Come check me out.
Don't do no window shopping. Go buy something. buy. We're supporting Black-owned businesses now. We're keeping money in our communities. We're doing that. So this is the season for that. So you guys go and get a shirt. Go get a shirt. Go get a mask. Here's a mask, and I saw a bundle deal here. Something for $50.
Yeah.
It's an awesome deal. So go and shop, guys. Bye.